Good morning. I already feel that you've had all the spiritual lessons you could possibly absorb in our songs, in your talk, and if you watch the kids playing back and forth. I'm a little overwhelmed already, so bear with me. It's delightful to have you here. In the first hour talk, I talked about how we play the game of life based on Ernest Holmes' teachings and from a chapter called Life is a Game. And in it we talked about all the things that give us this incredible life that we have. All these tools, and the three that I emphasized then were his main teachings. One, we are a spiritual being having a physical experience. We are a spiritual being, first and foremost, having a physical experience. And the second in his game and rules of life is that there is a power working through us in law that as we believe, we become. As we absolutely pray unceasingly, that which we truly believe comes to us completely. And the third is that we receive it in the level that we truly, truly, truly can believe it. So as we open, as I said before, the sign for our teachings is a V. And the reason is it's opening to this great expanse, this incredible expanse. And that spirit comes into us, deeply into us, as we play this game of life. So in the first part, we talked about kids' games. And now we're going to go up some levels. When we talk about a good game, what goes into making a good game? What has to keep there to keep your attention? So I was looking online for a definition of a good game. And you would know that with game designers and gamers, I went right to a game designer and got a quote. A good game designer will present the player with a solid collection of compelling choices. As long as the choices remain compelling, the game has a chance of being fun. But if the choices are boring, confusing, pointless, or broken, it is unlikely a fun game will emerge. Does that sound like life? And what happens when if we get bored playing a game? What do? Some quit. Yeah, we really can't quit life, can we? Doesn't let us do it. I know what I do if I get bored. If I am at a level in life and playing a game, and I don't realize yet that there's all sorts of other levels. I mean, how many of you have played computer games? Yeah. Well, you're going along, and as I shared in the first talk, I went online and I found a game called The Level Game. And its rules were, as people have heard already, 1, get to the next level. Really, yeah, get to the next level. 2, remember what you were at the level before, because you're going to need it later. And 3, figure it out as you go. And many of us think we have to figure everything out as we go by ourselves, don't we? But in our teachings, and as Ernest Holmes said in this chapter, in all great teachings, have that same base for us to follow as a game guideline. And it is in the belief, and I'd like to quote this because I find it so beautiful. It is in the belief that is full of goodness manifesting our deepest desires. If our thoughts are affirmative, our life will be affirmative. If we maintain an inward peace, we shall not become confused. If faith dominates our consciousness, we shall not be afraid. If we are always kind, we shall never know hate. If one thinks of life as an eternal springtime, forever blooming anew into self-expression through us, we can never grow old. Isn't that lovely? And you know, most religions teach this. And the difference is what we were talking about in our ability to realize that the Spirit is in us and that we can co-create with it. Now, why this talk is going to be different than the first talk is that we talked about how to do that in the first talk. This one we're going to talk about after you can manifest a parking lot, parking place, parking lot, parking building, whatever you want. So what? So what? That is a game that I call the game of distraction. Yes, it's wonderful that we can have everything we want. Absolutely, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have a car or a house, anything you want. But remember, what level could it possibly be? What level are you on? It's lovely. But as I was telling you about this level of the games I was playing that you had to just learn the next level, well, I got to level 3 and I was totally stumped. I found a little help guide, and turned out there are people on level 123, on level 154, I have no concept of. I don't know what they are. And if you've ever played a computer game, as you advance levels, you don't know what the next level is going to be. So it's important we don't get distracted by whatever level we're on. It's important that we open, keep realizing that this V is as wide as we can possibly make it. So I'd like to tell a story on myself, which I usually do up here. I have so many to grab from, let me tell you. But when I was I had graduated from college and I moved to La Jolla, California. And if any of you are familiar with it, the Torrey Pines is there and is known for its ridge soaring. And I had always wanted to learn to fly. I'd started flying power planes, but I wanted to fly sailplanes. And as I was driving by one day, I noticed that there's this big winch, and I mean, it's huge, power winch. And there were these sailplanes, and I don't know if any, are you all familiar with gliders and sailplanes, how wide their wings are? Well, there's this winch, and on hooked was this steel cable, and it takes you up, releases you, and you start soaring back and forth on Torrey Pines. Well, I decided to stop one day. They were having free rides, and I went up, and I got hooked. But what was interesting is when I was learning to fly and I was flying on Torrey Pines, all I could do is go back and forth on this ridge. It was lovely, it was beautiful. But it was only one level of the flying. And one day I was listening to people saying, yeah, I made my record. I made 350 miles. I'm thinking back and forth on this ridge. I'm not interested. Well, it turned out that, well, I wasn't. It turned out that this club had, they went out and flew at Elsinore, Lake Elsinore, which is known internationally as one of the best sailplane places in the world. And so I started flying out there, and I continued with my lessons. And when you're there, you go behind a tow plane. It's a tail dragger, so it has a back. And what you do is, you have this cable, but you're in this, you have one wheel, these big wings, and they have to guide you down the runway because you'll fall. And then as you get altitude, the plane takes you up, you're following it, and you get altitude, and you have to follow, and you've got to watch your wings, you've got to really work at it. And then when you feel a bump, or you see a gaggle of birds, you always go to the left, and they always go down. You go up, or else you have a cable problem. So you have to learn all of these things. So you're up soaring, and it's absolutely beautiful. Well, I was doing great, except for my landings. Oh, they actually have a little sign. I hope it's gone by now. Cher's Folly. And what it was, I was learning my landings, and I'd go down, and I had done flaring planes. So on a power plane, anyone a pilot in here? Okay, you guys, you know how you flare when you're landing a power? You do the opposite in a sailplane. And so you don't flare, you have to, because you have these wings and you have air underneath you, you're coming down final, you just have to put your nose down. Balance those two things on one wheel and land. Well, always I could come down and I could finish, and I could come down to final, I'd do fine, and by the end, my instructor was always having to take the controls, because they didn't want the Cher's Folly, which was when I flared, and I just skimmed the top of the shack. Didn't hit it, but there were tire treads across the top of the shack. So I really wanted to learn. I really wanted to get to that next level. I thought with all my heart I wanted it. So at the same time, I was doing a dream therapy. And it was about, I will remember I'm dreaming while I'm dreaming. I'll be aware I'm dreaming while I'm dreaming, and I'll remember my dreams. Well, one night, I was dreaming, and I remembered. I'm dreaming. What do I want to do? Now, didn't I just say my #1 goal in life was to learn to fly? Well, my first thing was, I'll levitate bottles. And I started playing with all these bottles in my dream. And about then, after I played with some stuff and did some other things, somersaults in the air and, just playing, I went, wait a minute, I can do anything. And I said, I want to learn how to land. I want to learn how to land. So the rest of my dream, I practiced my landings. I practiced coming down off of that, getting my and getting those steady of my wings, and gently just touching down and rolling. I kept doing it. I bounced. I kept practicing. I kept practicing. I kept practicing, and finally, I just came down. And then when you land properly, you just tilt, and one wing just lands. No crash, no shacks, nothing. It's smooth. It was lovely. Well, the next day I had a lesson, and I went out, we went up, I landed perfectly. My instructor, Michael, kind of went, let's do that again. So he told the instructor that what we were going to do is just practice our landing, so that means we go up, hit a certain altitude, and then you just glide back down, and you land. We did that about 3 more times. Popped open the canopy, jumped out, looked at me, you're on your own. I was soloed after spending my night dreaming at a different level than I knew ever existed. But the important thing about this lesson for me that always has been, don't get caught up in the distractions of the game of life. There's so many. As a meditator, I had somebody come to me, I felt so sad, came to me and said, I'm not doing it right, I'm not seeing colors, I'm not hearing voices. I said, oh, those are just byproducts. That you want to be deep within. You don't want the distractions. And so that's how our levels of this manifestation, how that second level of the lessons of the game of life, there's so much more to it than you can have anything you want. Well, if you're a child, what do you want? You want to eat all the ice cream you can have. How's that work out for you? So as we grow, we need to know that there's more levels. We need to be aware that there's so much more. And things we don't even know. That's the thing. That's the gift. That's the trust of life. That's this game that we're playing, is that you don't know what the level's going to be till you get there. I don't know if I shared last time about, I got stuck on level 3 of that game that tells you that you're just play the game, you'll figure it out. And as I was looking through, somebody was screaming at level 3, and then when this person said, oh, this level, 154, 124 was so great, they go, what? There's that many levels? And somebody said, oh, it keeps going. And it's the same thing when you play a computer game or any game. You don't know what it's going to be. Has anyone played a game? I watched my godson one time. He was playing this game, and he got to a different level, and the whole world changed around him. It was a different world. So I encourage you, when you're playing the game of life, to realize that how are you playing it? What is it? So a couple of things about games. Let's look at this. What is the purpose of a game? You consider, like we talked about, the different areas, poker, chess. You want choices. Well, we know we've been given free will, right? So we can make any choice we want. We've also learned that that law of cause and effect works positive or negative, as your story said. Be careful what you ask. It can work either way. So we have choices. The other thing about a game is that it should be fun. It should be full of joy and enjoy it, but it also should let you grow, let you develop your skills, right? Sound like a good game? That's what we get to play every day we choose, every day. So with that, it says, but like in Tiddlywinks, how many of you want to keep playing Tiddlywinks all your life? Or tic-tac-toe? Once you figure it out, you play with a new child that's figuring it out, right? But are you playing it for yourself anymore? Not particularly. And we talked about in the first one, if you don't get to a different level and you get bored, we sometimes set up obstacles for ourselves just to keep it challenging. Anybody done this? Life's going great. Had that experience? Well, we talked about that in terms of, Ernest Holmes in this chapter talks about it, is that that cosmic consciousness that we have that's so open at the top and so beautiful. We also have the consciousness we created on this physical plane of the collective consciousness. Not always so positive, is it? In all our own experiences. And so we have to be aware we have them. And one of the lessons that we have in our teachings for those of you who are new today is that we don't want to focus on the negative thoughts. We want to look at the positive and let that grow. And as I shared before too, is that if you think of it as that's old thoughts or dinosaurs. And someone is here that knows this from the Learning and Creative Initiative, that when we don't focus on the negative, we build the gazelle, we let that go extinct. We just don't feed it. You don't walk out every day and feed your negative thoughts or water them or do any of that. You just let them be. You let them wither as you build this incredible being over here. Well, the level I talked on it then was that we don't do that. But if we're bored in a game, we don't know there's different levels. We want to go wake that dinosaur up. We're bored. Let's go see. So we play a game of chicken. We play a game of how close to the edge with that dinosaur and negative thoughts and things and can I get before I save myself? Anybody played that game besides me? Please, don't let me be alone around here. Because it is, exactly, it's one that we seem to play. So that's why sometimes games have different rules, or sometimes you'll read one rule book and it says one thing. A couple of weeks ago, Reverend Sue was up here and she said with absolute truth and being that yes, we can change our condition immediately. That's true. That's true. And then in the game of life that I'm reading right now, Ernest Holmes talks about, but you need to remember the dinosaur. You need to remember that we've had many years of negative thought, and you may not be able to just switch it just like that. But if you pray unceasingly and you focus on that positive, just like in Christ, then you have that ability to move forward to the gazelle. So, if we know there's other levels, if we say, oh, wait a minute, let me hone my skills, let me move to another level, let me grow within myself, I'm going to stop wanting to wake up the dinosaur for fun. I'm going to look at what's next. What incredible things out there. I'll quit playing with levitation when I realize I am one with God, and I'll go, oh, I am one with God. And my parking lot manifestations will be, may everyone have what they need. May everyone be open. And I'll stop focusing on me. Because me is you, you and me, all that. We are all one together. Isn't that something about some cuckoo-caboo? Who is that? The Beatles. How's that? Cuckoo-choo, yeah. The walrus, that's it. I'm the walrus. But the idea is that as you get to higher levels, as you get to that being, all of a sudden this gazelle you're building, it springs wings. And then that which you thought was a dinosaur before becomes that gazelle, which you still have levels that you need to keep moving. And that wings become iridescent. And then it becomes something else. And then it's something else you don't even know. That's how we go through the levels of life. The levels in the games, they just get more incredible. So I ask you, learn our tools. They're incredible. But my belief is that many people leave this church because they learn the tools, but they don't experience the absolute presence of God within us, that deepening, that level of absolutely connection. Because if not, it's just like anything else. Seventh-day Adventist right now has what you conceive, you believe you can conceive. It has become mainstream. Isn't that wonderful? And it keeps us at one level, though. And that's where I have concerns about the book, The Secret. Heresy maybe, but I feel that it attracted people like a barker to get them in. Come on in, get what you want, use these tools. But I didn't feel the depth of the Spirit all the time. Not that it wasn't there, not if you didn't look for it, But that oftentimes people get the easy one and they keep playing the same level and they want to be the best fish in the little pond. They want to have the most, and they play the game that he who dies with the most tools wins, or most toys wins. You know those posters? How about he who evolves with the highest love, the highest joy, the highest connection with everyone in this universe and beyond, and knowing there's more than that, knowing that as we keep open at the top, there's so much more, and we leave this planet just going on with wings of that gazelle without ever making a transition that of any doubt, any fear, any of the lower levels that we can be in if we don't really connect with ourselves. So I ask you, yes, use the principles completely, but use them completely. Don't think of it as levels going this way. It's levels going in, deeper and deeper within yourself. This is where our goal is. It's in here. And then at that moment, both, as those of you that know from my Qigong, the earth and heavens come together in our heart integrated. So I thank you for playing the game wherever you are, but remember, don't get stuck. Keep going. Thank you so much. So please join me for knowing this. Thank you so much for giving us the gifts, the tools, and the understanding that this beautiful game of life is filled with joy, laughter, love, everything we can imagine, and more that we don't imagine. So as we continue to evolve, we continue to grow, we keep opening at the top to what's next, to that level where we merge more deeply within ourselves, within spirit, knowing truly the unity that is ours. And as so, we release any childish games we play with our power, and we use it only for the highest good for ourselves and others. We release any sense that we are limited, for spirit has no limit. For this, I'm so grateful for everyone here today, for everyone playing this game of life, and for this gift we so are given so freely, with great gratitude. I know everything is already so, and so it is. Thank you.
To love, serve.